Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter, and we are back again for challenge number 7 out of 9. It's Wednesday, it's a happy Wednesday, and we got people jumping in the chat like Aisha and Basmala. We have Uriel and Sam Peterson is moderating. Gonna be a lot of fun today. So if you've never taken part in one of our XD Daily Creative Challenges, let's talk about it. What is it? We are going to build your XD skills in just 9 challenges. Head over to behance.net/challenge/XD, hit that big blue button, sign up for the Discord community chat, and then scroll down to get today's starting file, which is a streaming service. We're going to be designing a web-based user experience for a streaming service. We're going to be doing some immersive prototyping and some fun stuff. So why don't we jump on over to our starting file and we will get going. My starting file is going to look just a little bit different than yours because I can't offer you copyrighted images, but I can use them in my concept project. So you'll have some empty boxes on your page, but this is challenge number 7 on a Wednesday. Again, a web-based streaming service. You could probably take this web-based version of the streaming service and then you'd be able to reformat it into maybe like a desktop or into a mobile experience or an Xbox experience. And we have some inspirations, some resources, and some links. Let's get cracking over on our artboard here. I have a 1920 by 1080 artboard. Has a few things on it already. I have some typography over here and some different elements just to speed our process today because I tend to run out of time. So we have a top navigation that just includes this left navigation over here and this little right section that has a search and an avatar there, and it actually has a light gradient. My artboard is actually already a pure black color. Just by selecting the artboard in the top left hand corner there, you can go ahead and change the color of your artboard. When I take the color off, you can see our gradient from our top nav kicking in, kicking through, and we are ready to go. What else do we have? We have a few images here. We have a main image for a movie, an upcoming Disney movie, and we also have a main image for one of my favorites, a little John Wick action happening. All right, so we're calling those main image and the names of each of the movies. Let's go ahead and highlight Raya and the Last Dragon right now. And you know what, we like this top nav just as it is. Let's work smarter, not harder in Adobe XD by hitting Command or Control K, turning it into a component. By hitting Command or Control and then Shift Y, we can head over to our document assets and see now we have a top nav component. We also have a bunch of textiles and colors that we're going to be using. So I've already kind of pre-built a little bit of a library for myself, but this is really nice because now I can drop out another version of a top navigation. And this one is actually my master component. You can tell because it has that filled in green diamond right there. In comparison, you can see this empty or white diamond. That's going to be an instance of our component. So why don't we get rid of the master? You never want to be working on the master. We're going to keep that right there, and then Command and Control Y to go back over to our layers panel. Okay, we have a bunch of this typography. Let's just grab it and bring it on in. Cool stuff. Now that it's in, why don't we just close up our groups here, and I'm just gonna eyeball it and line up some of these items. I'm gonna make sure my top nav is on top. Here's all my elements. I'm going to left align them. And then you know what? Why don't we group all these together? Because this is the exact kind of stuff that we want here for this shot. I'm gonna hit G. I'm gonna call this details, Command or Control G to group things together. Details Raya, just like that, okay? And then I'm gonna do a little eyeballing up, and then I'm gonna grab this, drag it down. Why don't we lock our top nav? Not hide it, but lock it because we won't be needing that. And we got more people jumping into the chat. Chris Olson says hello. We got Hillary Hubbard in the chat. Basmala's still here. Lots of people. Let me know where you're coming from in the world. That would be awesome to know. All right, you know what I'm going to do now that I have my details? I'm going to turn on stacks because stacks will allow me to play with exactly this stack of information. It's automatically put it into a vertical stack. I could switch that into a horizontal stack, but we don't want to do that. Let's say vertical stack, and then we can create some set padding, maybe like 16 here, like that, and that'll stretch everything out and keep everything nice and even Stevens. So let's go inside and grab all of our elements and make sure we left align them again, because inside of a stack you can move things around horizontal if you're on a vertical stack like that. So just keep that in mind. Let's get just a little bit more padding and spacing here. That looks pretty good. And I also have some stacks turned on inside of my button group here. So I have a button that's a button call to action, another one that's a button add. Why don't we really quickly turn each of those into components? And I'll tell you, I think we should probably like create a hover instance or a hover state of this button. So for instance, let's go over here, and we already have a pre-wired up version. We can create a hover state, and then with that instance or that component state selected, let's change this a little bit. Why don't we do something like add a little bit of a background shadow? What color do we want it to be? Probably a lighter version of our purple. So let's just find something a little bit like that, and let's bring the X axis of it down, just kind of bring it out and blur this button. And again, let's take the shadow, we'll click in, and we'll just take the opacity of the shadow down a little bit. Okay, that works out pretty good. And then what we can do is also inside of our layer button CT, I can grab both of the elements and then just lift them up. Maybe we don't want to do that. Or you know, we could do something really fun. We could just do something like, let's just do that. We'll keep it how it is. We'll just turn up a little bit of a glow. All right. Now we should be able to make sure that we're on our default state. And if we were going to come up and start our prototype, we'll select our artboard. You can see when we hover over this button, we just get a little bit of a hover. It's a little bit rigid right now. We can go back and fix that. We totally will. All right. So let's do this because this is a web experience, right? So let's go ahead and create a hover state for this one as well. With the hover state selected, why don't we just, ooh, that's interesting. I'll tell you what, we don't have to spin the whole circle. We just need to spin the X or the little guy inside of it, don't we? Okay, cool. So with those selected, we should be able to auto-animate back and forth nice and easy, just like that, okay? That's looking pretty good. Now what we want to do is create some movie posters, right? I got this thing at 1920 by 1080, this entire artboard. If you were creating like a real streaming service, this thing would get really, really tall, but we're going to create one row of like movie posters for now, just for now. Okay, so let's bring this down a little bit further, and then I'm going to draw R for rectangle and just do a nice size movie poster. Probably bring that up a little bit, just give some spacing. Why don't we just round the borders of these a little bit, something like 8 pixels. You can see our border radius over here for 8 pixels, and we'll talk about the border here in a second, but I actually have a whole bunch of resources. So why don't we just grab one of these movies and pop it in really, really quickly and kind of space this up a little bit. That's looking pretty good, and we just want to try to get as much of the movie poster as we can. Okay, let's zoom in on this movie poster, do a little bit of work. I'm just going to add a really light shadow. I have a border. Let's make it all the way white, and then let's bring the transparency of it down. It's an inner border, so as we kind of expand our border, it will be on the inside of our shape. Let's just go to 2, something like that. Yeah, I said 3, but let's go back down to 2, and let's just have it be a light border. So we're going to do something like 30% opacity there. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we probably need just a little bit of a title. So let's bring this down a little bit more here. And I'm just going to copy some text in there. And boom. Let's grab these elements, paste this right here. And then what is this going to be? This is going to be like my list. Okay, and we have some styles for this, don't we? So let's go section headline. It's a little chunkier. Pops out a little bit like that. All right, cool. Now we have a little bit of a title or like a little category title headline for us. And we can move this thing back up. We're just spacing things out a little bit. Okay, now the question becomes, how do we create lots and lots of these posters? Well, we just use a repeat grid. That's the easiest, fastest way. Command or Control R, boom, we get our little draggable handles. Let's drag a whole ton of them so that we have some horizontal scrollable stuff that's happening. A really fast way to fill these is with that first one selected. I'm going to grab a bunch of movies like this, drag them into the first one, and boom, it's going to go ahead and populate it with tons and tons of movies. Let's just make sure we grab our John Wick movie, pop that in there. That's cool. And then, you know, it's using all that information. I can keep dragging out, and when we hit the end of our list, it will start to repeat it again, just like that. All right. So this is a really long movie list. That's great. That's exactly what we want. Now we could continue to work with this inside of the repeat grid if we want to. There's absolutely no problem with that. Or we could, if we wanted to, we could jump these out of all of the repeat grids. That's the thing you could do as well. You have to choose what's right for you and your workflow. So, I mean, that works pretty good for us. I like it. I might actually drop it out of the repeat grid. So let's do this. Let's ungroup the grid. There they all are. Let's group them together and call this poster row, something like that. And then, okay, that's pretty cool. I'll just turn on our horizontal scroll. We'll see some magic happen. So I'm going to head up to my inspector panel, hit horizontal scroll, and we do want to make sure that we bring our scrolling edges all the way to the edge here. And now when we press play on our streaming service artboard, we'll be able to grab and drag all of these wonderful movies over and head right back, just like that. Easy peasy stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool. But now what we want to do is we really want to create an immersive experience where when we tap on one of my favorite movies right here, we want to be led into this really cool immersive movie interface where we're just immersively focusing on that individual movie and having a bunch of stats there. Okay, so we have this. It's a streaming service. I'm going to call this dashboard, streaming dashboard, like that. And let's go ahead and duplicate a copy of this. Okay, we have all of the same elements. Now what I'm going to do is there's two ways you could do this. We could either create this new artboard and then animate back and forth between the two artboards, or we could turn this single artboard. Maybe we'll do that. We'll head back over here and we can add all of our elements for our next scene or our next state. And we'll turn this entire thing into a component so that when we click on something, it'll just shift the entire component. We might try that. We might break it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So we have our poster row, and let's just call this posters, like that. Let's keep our top nav on top. We always want to do that. Here's our details for Raya and list. Let's just group this whole thing together. Okay, so we're calling this posters. We can move those as one. And I have this John Wick image. I knew I was going to use John Wick because I like John Wick. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to start designing the second version of all of this stuff. So, you know, it's either one of two things. You're going to drag an artboard over and start redesigning it and making sure you have the same layers and everything on both artboards, or you're going to have a little bit of foresight and have some elements and figure out where these elements are going to go in between your two states. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned. We're going to get it done here. Okay. Let's say, you know, we click on John Wick. We're going to want all this cool John Wick information to pop out. I'm going to put this stuff right about here. Okay. And then you'll see what I'm saying when I hide that, just like that. Okay. And then I'll tell you what we'll do is we have this list. We'll move this thing out of the way. And then, yeah, I think this is going to work good. So we have all of our elements now on the screen that we want. Let's get to our Raya state. We'll call that the default dashboard state. I'm going to take this element, this John Wick info. I'm going to move all of this over to the side and turn the opacity down. I have my John Wick image. I'm not going to hide it because that can get a little funky during prototyping. I'm going to take the opacity of it down. And we also had, I think, a back to dashboard link. Let's take the opacity of that down. Okay, sound pretty good. What I'm going to do now is with all of this stuff selected, I'm going to grab everything. I'm going to go, well, I could just from here, Command Control K, boom, turn it into a component. We had our top nav locked, so that's why we kind of messed that up. Let's move it back up there. Everything's unlocked. Boom, we turn the whole thing into a component. Okay, you can see over here in our components list, we have this massive component. Let's just call this UI. That's our interface, okay? Okay, so what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Well, we're gonna take this component that we have here. I mean, this is crazy because you could then take this out and drag a whole new version of our interface out. So we have our dashboard here, our interface. We want to create a new state. Now I can do that because I have the main component, the original component selected, not an instance. If you had an instance selected, here's what it would look like. you had an instance over here. You would try to create a new state and you're just going to get the pencil. All that does is it leads you back to the original, the OG component. Okay, so we always want to create our component states on the original master component. Let's create a new state. Okay, this new state we're going to call John Wick. Okay, this is our John Wick state. It just sounds so cool. It makes design sound so cool when the state component state you're working on is called John Wick. All right, here we go. So we're gonna take this Wick stuff and we're gonna bring it back in. Let's turn the opacity of it on. Whoop, line it up with the other stuff like that. Let's take this details of Raya and move that out. Okay, and we can move it off the artboard because it's all still contained within the component, which is really, really nice. Okay, we're gonna take this poster list down. We don't need that. And then we're going to take our image for Raya, or excuse me, John Wick, move it up, and our image for Raya, move it down. Okay. And we might be able to just bring this down. Well, actually, maybe what we want to do is get really immersive and bring that top navigation all the way out. And then we can bring our main dashboard one back, right? That'll return us to the main dashboard. Okay, so now we have two states. You can tell because I can click back and forth between default state and the John Wick state, default state and the John Wick state. Now we got to prototype this thing up to switch back and forth within our component. You can do that. So let's head over to prototype. Let's find our John Wick poster. Okay, we only want that. And instead of grabbing it and dragging it somewhere, we're just going to tap like that. Okay, and it's going to say on tap, Auto-Animate to choose an artboard or state. We want the John Wick state. We want to ease in, ease out. Let's do 1 second, okay? And then with our component selected, let's head over to John Wick, hit this back to main dashboard interaction, and we'll do the same thing, except this time we're going to go back to our default state. I'm really hoping that soon we'll be able to name our default states. That'd be a thing that I would really like inside of Adobe XD. All right, let's see if this works. We open up our prototype. We're able to horizontally scroll, right? When I hover over, you see my little hover hand that I'm getting. Let me get myself out of the way so you can see. See my little hovering hand that's happening in my prototype. I'm gonna click on that, whoop, and I get nice auto animation right into our John Wick state. Things move in, things move out. Now, we may not like where that's a little high for me. I feel like that whole thing needs to come down. That's okay. That's really, really easy. I can just make sure that I'm grabbing my John Wick stuff. I might want to just bring this down. Let's remember, actually, let's go the other way. Let's go grab our John Wick information, drag it down, kind of center it. It is on the y-axis about 178. Okay, so I want to make sure that I adjust the y-axis on the other component state. Otherwise, you're going to see things move not only in, but in and up, and that might not be the vibe I'm going for, right? So let's make sure that comes in from 178. And now we can click back and forth between our two component states, which is pretty cool. Now, you might be asking, Jesse, why on earth did you do it this way? Why didn't you do just like with the artboards and have multiple artboards? Well, with this way, you could set up multiple components within one component and lead to all the other movies. You just have to have the matching elements there. So if we wanted to do this next one, like Baby Driver, all we would have to do is make sure that we had like all the details and information, just like here on Baby Driver. So it just requires a few little things inside, which is like a background image, a bunch of information, and then prototype it up, and it works just fine. Here's another reason why we might want to do this, okay? Because now that it's a component, we can drag out instances of this component anywhere, and it will work, right? Okay, so I wonder what would happen if I do another artboard of 1920 by 1080, okay? And then I'm gonna do a rectangle that fills the entire rectangle. Actually, I should have skipped the artboard and just done the rectangle. Let's get rid of this artboard. But now we have this rectangle, 1920 by 1080. I'm gonna drag my instance out here. I'm gonna make sure that all of these are off onto the pasteboard so I can manipulate them. And then I'm gonna mask it inside. Let's go to our layers really quickly. I want this to have some rounded corners to kind of mimic like an interface. And then I'm going to maybe just like round the corners a little bit. You're like, okay, all right, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw an artboard around this thing, okay? Let's get our, let's try one more time here. Let's draw an artboard. Okay, we get this thing inside here. And what do I want? I'm gonna do a little bit of background. I'm gonna do some presentation with some 3D animation going on here. So where'd my big Raya and the Last Dragon thing go? I'm gonna pop that in the background. I'm gonna make a really cool Behance shot right now. So I'm gonna make sure that my fill is dark. I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit like that. I'm gonna come in and find my rectangle. I'm gonna do a little drop shadow on there. Boom, and let's just blur the edges up. And then I'm gonna take this whole thing, I'm gonna turn on 3D transforms. Whoop, and I'm just gonna make it look kinda cool like that. Okay, why don't we bring our Raya and the Last Dragon down a little bit so we have some of that stuff. Now we can do 2 states, right? If we wanted to. If not, we could just press play here. And what do we get? Oh, we missed a few things. We got to mess with the z-index of a few things, right? So let's just make sure our z-index is nice and big so we don't mess with anything. But almost there. Oh gosh, we just have to play with this a little bit, but we'd be able to get this cool kind of 3D interaction. I don't know why we're missing our list there. But another thing you could also do is, hey, when we select this, when we click on here, it also would lead over to our next artboard. And our next artboard, we could kind of do a little bit more 3D transform the other way. And now we have a really cool way of presenting, or we could just head back and we could look at it in the original mode like this. But what's the most awesome, and then we have to end and look at some submissions, is if I change something here, right, it changes it everywhere, which is great because we can keep working on the design and the presentation updates automatically. Come on, let's talk about it. That's good stuff. All right, well, hey, I'm gonna jump over to my browser and let's look at some submissions from yesterday's project or yesterday's challenge, which was to create a seating, like to be able to book a table or reservation at a restaurant. This one was submitted by Anubhav Raj, and this is his seating prototype. Got them cute little chairs. Let's zoom out a little bit and see if we can see this prototype. Okay, let's see what he's got going here. We've got selected, unselected, a little legend there. Watch your spacing up on the top left-hand corner, I'd recommend. But it's nice. You click on the table. Ooh, he's got a little picker animation coming up. That's nice. Time slot. Good. Book a table. That's been booked. And then we go next. And my little follow-up challenge was, hey, let them order an appetizer or something. And so here, oh, and it's got a little confirmation dialogue. That is super nice. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's head over to our next submission. This one is by Sayal Goyal. I think I probably said that wrong, but that's okay. This is from a few days back, the challenge of kind of like a life coach dashboard. Let's see some of the prototype stuff that's going on here. Oh, able to do a little bit of scrolling, horizontal and vertical scrolling. Lovely. All right, we got a little progress with the pie chart, scrolling up and down in the notes. Watch out for your scroll groups right around here. They look like they were a little bit trapped, but the color's really nice. It's got a little bit of that neumorphism going on in there. Colors are nice. Interface is nice. Really, really cool. Really interesting. A couple of recommendations. Watch your alignment if you're going to create this dash or kind of like containment containers inside of containers. Kind of maybe use a grid, line a few things up. That might benefit this one a little bit. Let's see what else we got in here. This one is from Annie N. Let's pump this up full screen and see. Ooh, this is fun, like a movie screen booking kind of like interface and experience. Love it. Changes how many seats. Boom, 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 boom. Able to change those. Love in Adobe XD how you're easily able to do that. And then we get the full experience. We're able to get some popcorn, skip the snacks. Boom, we're gonna go purchase these tickets. And then you get a movie ticket. I like that design for that movie ticket. That's really, really slick. And I love that you guys took it to the next level. You did confirmation dialogues. You did you stepped through the process and built really, really beautiful flows. These are wonderful. Let's see this one from, oh, there was another one up there. Well, I want to see this one. This is Challenge 6, the restaurant booking by Drew Solorio. I'm gonna hit full screen here and see if we can check it out. Ooh, okay. A little bit regal, like an Italian food restaurant, perhaps. Okay. Like it, we're able to get a little bit of this kind of like horizontal scrolling experience. Okay, choose an open table. Yeah, we went right for iconography that represents the, oh, I like the little animation. That was slick. Some toggle switches and some time drop downs. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I like it. Continue on. Ooh, give me some horizontal scroll. He did the horizontal scroll. Come on, come on. I like this a lot. This is really nice. Get you some of that caprese salad. And then thank you. Got a little toast notification. Very interesting. Very interesting. This looks like maybe a desktop experience that somebody's now viewing in the mobile. It has some kind of desktop-ish kind of like interactions. And sometimes you got to make that work, right? Let's do this last one when we're done. This one's by Uzair, able to shift these things around. This was from our routine tracker. Interesting how they're kind of staggering down and to the right, but we get some animated charts. Really, really beautiful. Maybe a little consideration, try to get a little bit of contrast in between your dialogues, maybe your background and your interface elements like these here, and then maybe a little bit more padding and spacing and alignment down these guys. But hey, besides that, really beautiful rendition of our challenge. Everybody, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. We got to get going. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. If you're watching this at the Creative Encore, or the replay of this stream, I would love to see you to take today's streaming service challenge, extend it. I want to see you go to 3 or 4 different movies and jump in and out using component states. I want to see you fix that 3D transform presentation. I'd also love to see a lengthened artboard where you can scroll down and see different categories. Try that. Get back to me and post it in the Discord or on Behance using the hashtag XD Daily Challenge. See you right back here for tomorrow's challenge. Same place, same time. Stay safe, everybody, and have a great day.